Okay, folks, it's 6 o'clock. It is Tuesday, May 12th, 2026. We're in the council chambers, city of Platteville, and I'm calling the regular meeting of the Common Council to order. Craig will start with roll call.
Tony McFall.
Excuse me, here.
Barbara Doss.
Here.
Bob Gates. Here. Brian Wisnat.
Here.
Stephen Badger.
Here.
Kathy Kopp.
Here.
And Lynn Parrott is absent.
Okay, the first item on our agenda is a special presentation tonight. We have partnered for a dispatch consolidation study, and our chief is going to present that. And I particularly extend a welcome to the members of the Police and Fire Commission that are in the audience tonight. So,
Thank you.
take it away, Chief.
Appreciate it. So tonight I'm going to go over the dispatch study that the Matrix Consulting Group we partnered with Grant County to do. This is a project that started in 2025 and was awarded then. We received their final results after getting 7 different reports. This is the consolidated report. I shared it out with you in your packets. It's quite the extensive document. My plan is to kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces tonight and take about 10 or 15 minutes to go over it because it's pretty important. Do you want me to bring it up on, can you bring it up on the screen here so they can see? Otherwise I can do it. While we're getting feasibility study with Grant County to evaluate whether consolidating emergency dispatch services into a single countywide public safety answering point, PSAP, would improve service delivery efficiency and long-term sustainability. This study, I just want to emphasize, was not initiated because Platteville's current dispatch is underperforming. If you read the report, in fact, the analysis confirms that the city dispatch operations are meeting performance expectations today and actually exceed the industry standard on what a dispatch center should be. Kudos to our employees for that. Rather, the purpose of the study is to determine whether a consolidated model could be a better position for Platteville and Grant County for future emergency communications, particularly as technology, staffing expectations, and service demands continue to evolve. Ultimately, our reason for wanting to do this, as I was cleaning out the office when Doug left, he was a bit of a, and he's not going to mind me saying this, a bit of a pack rat. And I found a Platteville Journal article from 2005, and the topic of dispatch consolidation was the headline in 2005. So it's something that's been talked about for many, many years here within the city. When we partnered with Grant County for this, it was for a couple of reasons. Primarily, we needed an objective look at dispatch. I've been there 26 years, and Platteville having a dispatch is all we know how to operate. And it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And the idea of a consolidation of it potentially not being in the city of Platteville anymore is not something that I honestly objectively could look at. So it's better that a group from the outside takes a look at it, where they look at actual hard data to help us with a decision. And then the second reason is the staffing challenges that we face. Being a dispatcher is not an easy job. It takes a very specific person to do it long term. And frankly, the job market to find those individuals is very difficult. And when we're competing with other PSAPs in the area for these qualified individuals, hiring a good person to do that is tough. So ultimately what we did, the presentation tonight is a summary of the findings for the PSAP consolidation study. And again, if it's operationally and financially feasible for Platteville to do. If we could go to the next slide. Tonight what I'll do is I'll walk through the major findings of the feasibility study the proposed consolidation model, projected staffing impacts, technology and facility needs, the governance structure, and then finally the financial impact specific to Platteville. As you read, the study itself was very comprehensive. Our consultants interviewed not only us, but Grant County, and then the area EMS and fire to determine what their thoughts were on it. They conducted on-site visits, workload studies, staffing analysis, technology reviews, and then provided us with a long-term costing projection. The objective tonight, as I go through this, is to just ensure that you folks have enough information to determine whether the continued exploration of consolidation is in the best long-term interest of the city and in the public safety operations. Slide 3, please. Currently, right now, we have two separate dispatch centers operating in Grant County. The Grant County Sheriff's Office operates as the primary PSAP for most of the wireless 911 calls and countywide dispatch services, while Platteville operates our own center, serving the Platteville PD, Platteville Fire, UW Platteville, and Southwest EMS. One important point that was identified in the study is that all wireless 911 or the wireless 911 calls already route first to Grant County before being transferred down to Platteville. So if you're within the city and you call 911 from your cell phone, it rings up to Grant County first. Their dispatch answers it, determines that it's a Platteville call, then it is transferred down to the Platteville. You can see how that produces a delay of about 10 to 15 seconds is what they identified. Now, if you've ever had to call 911, you know that it's a bit nerve-wracking. Nobody calls 911 to tell us that the sun is shining and everything's going great and their kids are behaving well. They're nervous when they call. And so when they first get on the line and get a Grant County dispatcher and they start telling the emergency that's happening and then have to get transferred down to Platteville, we have to have them pick that up again. And that's difficult for people to understand, because when you call 911, you expect, I'm going to get help. But there's that skip, a delay within the system. And they identified that as being a concern with that. It also noted that two operating centers result in duplicated staffing structures, duplicated technology, infrastructure, training responsibilities, and whatnot. Next slide, please. They also identified several operational and long-term sustainability concerns with the current structure. Again, we already talked about that delay in the 911 system. And then it also highlights the challenger of a one dispatcher environment. Currently within the city at any given time, for most situations, we only have one dispatcher working at a time. So that means if an officer is out dealing with a member of the public, our dispatcher is primarily focused on them. And then the administrative line, the 2313 number rings, the 911 rings, and then maybe there's additional radio traffic from fire. There's one individual in there right now that needs to manage all that. And you can see where that becomes a challenge with a hiring, because multitasking, that is very difficult to do and requires a very specific set of skills in that person to be able to do that. Grant County operates with two dispatchers. As we entered into this study, one of the agreements that we had in order to get the funding for it was that emergency medical dispatch would be something that would be implemented in both the county and Platteville if it stayed there. What that means is that your dispatcher would then be able to provide CPR instructions over the phone or first aid instruction. In order to do that, it's mandated that you have at least two people in dispatch at all times. Currently, we have 5 people on staff. So at a minimum, we would have to hire 5 more, likely 7 more dispatchers in order to meet that requirement that's coming forward with the grant. Because we accepted the money for this study, and if we don't implement that in the first 36 months after it's done, we pay that money back to the state. The next one. What consolidation changes? It changes quite a bit. Under the proposed model, Grant County would become the single countywide dispatch handling all emergency call taking and dispatch operations. Platteville, per the recommendation, final report that they said, Platteville would transition away from operating as the primary emergency dispatch center for the city of Platteville. The city, however, could choose to maintain administrative staffing functions locally, including the front desk operations, non-emergency calls during business hours, and then lobby services. So currently what happens is we have a person working the lobby, and then we have a dispatcher. And we only have one person who's staffed in the lobby. If that person is out ill, vacation, or whatnot, our dispatcher picks up the slack for the folks that come in for our foot traffic. If dispatch goes away and that person is sick, we have nobody there. So the public expects that somebody would be in that area to answer the questions that happen. And we'll get into a little bit where some of these costs might come into later on for that. Importantly, consolidation would not eliminate Platteville Police, Fire, EMS, or local decision-making authority. It just changes where dispatch functions occur, not who controls the public safety operations. Next slide, please. The consultants also concluded that consolidation would improve delivery service in several ways. Specifically, we talked about it, the 911 service. Also going to a multi-dispatch environment improves dispatcher support, staffing resiliency, and operational continuancy during critical incidents. I can tell you that when a critical incident happens within the city of Platteville, it ends up being quite a bit for one dispatcher, let alone 2 to happen. to handle. And we've had enough critical incidents over the years that I can attest that we don't like them to happen, but they do. We had several of them here over the last couple of years, whether they involve UW-Platteville or the city of Platteville itself. Next slide, please. Staffing impacts are, for the staffing, the impacts are significant and one of the major drivers behind, as you look forward, probably the projected cost savings. Under consolidation, the consultants recommended that Grant County would have to hire 2 additional full-time dispatchers in order to handle the traffic, the radio traffic, the calls and whatnot that the city of Platteville, EMS, fire, and UW-Platteville would have. The study concluded that the staffing model, hiring 2 additional folks on top of what Grant County currently has, would adequately support a combined countywide workload. For Platteville, the city would no longer need to maintain a full 24/7 emergency dispatch staffing. The remaining staffing level would become local policy decision-making, depending on how much front desk coverage and administrative support we wanted to maintain for us. The report specifically notes that Platteville could choose anything from maintaining extended lobby coverage to eliminating dispatch-related staffing almost entirely. But again, that would affect the services that we provide to our citizens and what they've come to expect over the years. Slide 8, the Platteville financial impact. The slide represents one of the most significant findings of the study from Platteville's perspective, but I'm going to say it's with an asterisk as we get into it. The consultants estimated approximately over a 10-year span a $4 million savings to Platteville. On average, that equals roughly $400,000 annually. That projection, though, is if we shut off dispatch tomorrow and did nothing more with it. That means that we would have no more additional lobby coverage, that we would have to keep our records management system, that we would shut down essentially our 2313 number and everything would be routed to Grant County. That is not something I think we should do for the city of Platteville going forward, if this is something that we want to consider going forward, because it's not serving our citizens the way that they deserve to be served. The primary driver behind these savings is the staff reduction. City would no longer have to maintain a fully staffed standalone PSAP. And an additional savings come from avoiding future technology replacements. Ultimately, the goal here would be that if consolidation were to be pursued, Platteville would operate as a backup for Grant County's dispatch center. That way, it provides true redundancy in the effort, and if a disaster happened. That's going to require some pretty significant technology upgrades, which is the next phase that we would be applying for when the grants funding comes open from the state, which we project to be open anytime soon. We also think that we would be positioned very well with Grant County to receive this, because primary consideration for these grants is given to entities that are looking at potential consolidation. Slide for system-wide impact cost, or system-wide cost impact. An important point in the study is that while Platteville realizes significant savings, the county does not. Essentially, when they say in the report that the county cost is neutral, what they're saying is that the approximately $4 million in savings that the city of Platteville would see from shutting dispatch down tomorrow would then be transferred up to Grant County, which is about a $4.1 million cost increase. That model works if Platteville's going to hand over $4 million to Grant for the dispatching. As it stands right now, Grant County provides dispatch services to the other entities within the county, Lancaster, Boscoville, Cuba City, etc., for no additional cost. The thought process behind that is the county taxpayers are currently paying taxes for dispatch, including Platteville residents. Platteville residents, though, do not see all of the benefits from that because of us having our own dispatch center. So it's a bit of a misnomer when you read the study that over 10 years it's about $113,000 in additional cost. That's only if Grant County were looking to recoup those costs, and I don't know what the plan would be for something like that going forward. That's well above my pay grade. Next slide, facility considerations. They identified, basically in a nutshell, Grant County Sheriff's Office as the clear choice for the center, and not being in the city of Platteville. They have the dispatch center councils, they have the technology, they have everything there that frankly we do not have due to space. Slide 11, the technology impacts. From a technology standpoint, most of the major infrastructure already exists at the county level. They host a computer-aided dispatch system, the radio infrastructure, and much of the integrated communications environment. And under consolidation, Platteville would no longer need to independently maintain many of those systems. Number 12, the governance model. There's a couple of different processes that they examined, whether it would be that the sheriff's office would do the governance for it, if it would be a shared governance where you have almost an independent board, or you create an entirely different entity within the county that is independent from everything. The consultants recommended, and it does make more sense, that the sheriff's department, sheriff's office would maintain the governance of it with input consulting from the other entities, City of Platteville, Boscobel, Cuba City, whatnot. So what are the risks and consideration for this going forward? The report does acknowledge that consolidation involves transitional risk and operational change. It includes staff transitions, technology integration, policy alignment, training, ultimately to ensure that the service delivery is the same for everybody across the board in terms of the level that the public expects us to deliver those services that they provide. However, after evaluating all of those concerns, the consultants concluded that the risks are manageable and do not outweigh the operational and financial benefits identified above. Slide 14, what are our key decisions here in Platteville? Several important policy decisions still need to be made if we want to pursue this going forward. The city would need to determine how much local staffing it wants to maintain, whether to continue extended lobby hours and what those would look like, what level of administrative call handling should remain versus being transferred up to the city in terms of a records management system, when I talked about cost savings. Currently, we pay about $4,000 a year for our records management, which is a critical tool that we have within the city for open records and our reporting system. The system that the county uses, we were quoted an introductory price of about $35,000. Now, my experience with these introductory prices and anything that's a subscription model is $35,000 is a great trial, and we know it's going to go up significantly, most likely from there. Would that be ideal if consolidation happened? Absolutely, because now we have redundancy where the county is operating under the exact same system that we have. But as it stands right now, it's kind of hard to do when one costs $4,000 and is working for us, and the other one, for the first year at least, cost about $35,000. Now, if we were to migrate those two systems together, instead of operating two, if we switched over to the county's records management system, which is Central Squared, away from ours, which is Talon, and we asked those two to merge so our records were all under one system and we didn't have to maintain two, we're looking at about anywhere, estimates from about $90,000 to $120,000 in order to migrate those. So a significant cost right there. You can see where that savings is quickly dwindled away under this consolidation model. Number 4, oh, I'm on that one, sorry. Platteville will also need to define, or the city would need to define what our role is as a backup location and negotiate any terms of any intergovernmental agreement in terms of who would pay for any upgraded costs, those type of things going forward. And policy choices directly affect operational outcomes and the total amount of projected savings, as we talked about. So the final slide, bottom line. In summary, the study concludes that consolidation is operationally feasible from both a service and long-term sustainability standpoint. It projects some savings going forward, but not really, as we talked about. And ultimately, the decision comes down to balancing operational efficiency, financial sustainability, service improvements, local control, and really what's best for the citizens of Platteville. We're not asking for a decision tonight. This is just informational going forward. There is a lot more steps that would need to be taken place, but we just received this and you guys, or you folks approved the staffing study, so this is the final report on that. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Chief, has this been presented at the county level already?
I believe it has. Kathy, maybe you can help me out?
It's being presented tomorrow at the Public Safety Committee,
Okay,
and then the full county board the week after.
there we go. Yep. And they have the exact same information that we have. We have also shared this with all of our employees. One real quick point that I want to make going forward is that if a transition were to happen, it's not something that we can theoretically just flip a switch tomorrow and it happens. But we have been transparent with our dispatchers that we currently have. We have 5 employees that are working in there right now. They know that the final report said that consolidation is a possibility and it was what was recommended. We can only encourage them that, or we can only say to them, we don't know the timeline if this were to happen. But I know if it was me and I knew that my job may be going away at some point in the future, I'd be looking at the want ads tomorrow. So right now, our only thing that we have for them is can you stay on until we know what's going on? And that's not realistic for these folks going forward. One thing that the study did talk about is coming up with some sort of financial retention that we may have to look at going forward, because it is critical that we keep these folks around while we're doing a potential transition, because I think it's paramount that we take care of them during this process instead of just flipping the switch. And we can't expect them realistically to just, I hope you stay, without some sort of incentive, because if there's another job that would be available, I couldn't fault them for taking that in the meantime. Then what we want to do for a smoother transition, if it were to happen, would not be, because we haven't been able to plan it out, and it would just be a flip of the switch on at midnight and let's see what happens. So something that we may need to look at financially going forward is some sort of financial incentives and maybe a retention program with a severance at the end.
So the next step is county meets and.
They're
did
going to
they-
hear the report. next
Right. Will they, is that a decision point or is that just a, do you know?
Is
that
it a decision point?
No. It's,
Okay.
So-
it's going to be.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about, okay.
So what is the decision matrix?
Yep.
What is the,
Yep, so it's really kind of incumbent upon both entities, both the council and the county board, going forward. A key component of this, in order to make this work, is going to be those technology upgrades that are needed, and those are expensive. There is grant money that is available, but you have to apply for the grant, get accepted for the grant, and then implement that grant. So it's going to be a while because of the way the grant system works and the awarding of the grants. That's really where we're at with it right now. Is this is information. They determined that consolidation is feasible, and they did recommend that. Really, though, it's incumbent upon those technology upgrades that would be needed going forward. But as a reminder, we have about 30 months to so 2.5 years to figure out before that emergency medical dispatch does come down, and we do have to kind of make a decision at that point. So we do have some time, but again, our timeline may be pushed up if we cannot retain the staff that we currently have right now. We do have plans in place. I mean, the team has been coming up with what would that look like if tonight we had to flip the switch over. I'm not going to say that we couldn't. We could do it, but it's not going to be pretty.
Chief, I have a couple.
the
questions.
state?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, no, I'm sorry, I didn't, go ahead.
No,
Well, I was going to say, the state had innovation grants. Is that the grant that, or is this a grant through some other
Entity.
entity? Okay, because I know they had innovation grants that would fund if there were consolidated services, and it showed, and I don't know where we,
Yeah, those are still available, but what the chief has talked about is that some of these grants that he's talking about are coming from the Department of Military Affairs.
okay,
And some of that is for some upfront money. The innovation grants I call
are-
it back-ended
it is kind of
funding.
backdoor, yeah.
But I mean, that's something that they could pursue, but it's the implementation part. You have to implement it. And the innovation grant's already in its second year. So if this took 2 more years, there's an opportunity to maybe get 2 years of it if they're still doling out the grants in 2 years from now. So
Right.
that's really the tough part, is the timing.
And that's the tough part. I would love to have an answer for you in terms of what it looks like, but we're really beholden to what the grant cycle looks like.
Yeah.
And are they available? Because as you know, the grants that are available today may never be available or available in a 2-year cycle. And future considerations and the upgrades and the costs that are going to be needed really do need to be grant funded, because it's pretty significant outlay that both entities would have to do, where financially I don't believe it'd be feasible or advisable to do without the grant process. So we're beholden to that.
Bob?
Chief, I just had a couple questions. One, in the study, it said that the Platteville site would have to be designed as a backup,
Yes.
but it didn't give any estimated costs of what would be necessary? And would it have to be like just a similar site? Would we have to have computer-assisted dispatching and all of that here in case something happened there and it had to move here instantly?
You bet. And that's exactly the way that it would need to be designed. It would have to essentially be a clone of what the Grant County setup looked like. Because ideally what would happen is if a disaster were to happen and their facility was no longer operational, or it was a long-term, say it was a large flood or a big natural disaster where it was gonna be a multi-day event where we're gonna have a lot of calls and you needed another backup site. The idea is that an employee from Grant County could come down to the Platteville site, not have to learn the Platteville way. It looks just like Grant County's setup. So in order to do that, there's some infrastructure and technology upgrades that would need to happen, because essentially if you were either in Lancaster or you were in Platteville, you shouldn't be able to know the difference if you opened your eyes and just looked at the computer or in all the equipment that's there.
So is the study done, or are they going to give us an estimated cost of modifying our site?
That's more what the second grant, what that looks like. That was really focused on the technology side. What they primarily focused on when it came to technology are things like computer-aided dispatch and whatnot, but the nuts and bolts of what would it cost for a new computer console, what would it cost for an upgraded 911 center, those type of things. That's really the idea of kind of where that second grant comes in, and then the monies that are associated with that.
And my other question is concerning the current employees at Platteville. Would they be able to transition to the new site, or would they have to stay here to maintain service while other people, new employees, are being transitioned and trained for the new location?
Sure. My goal out of this is that for the 5 people that we have working, that we find a landing spot for them. I think that would be important. And one of those possibilities for a landing spot is, as you read in the study, Grant County does need 2 additional folks that they would, I think it would be a great idea for them to go up there, if they're willing, if they want, to work at Grant. It provides a lot of opportunities. One, we already talked about the job market and that it's really difficult to find dispatchers. 2, they already have that local knowledge of Platteville that is so important. If you've ever called our dispatch center, just having that person who understands and lives, works in Platteville is critical. Now that can transfer up to Grant and help with the transition period. Ideally, the way that it would work if the consolidation did happen is that those 2 would go up there. We would slowly, in a way, transition down here where it may be 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. We flip the switch up at Grant. And then it's work out the kinks with that, and then 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And then eventually you get to a point where it's full time. But it's important to have those levels along the way, because we do a nice job of anticipating what happens until you flip a switch and you realize you didn't think everything through, because there's no way to figure out everything that could happen. And it's important that we make it as smooth as possible, not only for us, but for the citizens. Because on our end, the way that we work, it's going to be a completely different way of doing the job. Right now, our dispatch enters the information for the calls for us. Now the officers are going to have to, and there is very specific state requirements on that information that we put in there, so we're not in violation with the state. Open records, those type of things. The 2313 number, 348-2313, may have to, if it gets transferred up to Grant, they might transfer it down to our sergeant, who's on duty, who's got the cell phone. Now the sergeant that was out dealing with a drunk individual down on 2nd Street now has to answer the call for a sick skunk over on Union Street. That happened today, just as an example. We actually had 2 skunks. 'Tis the season. But the way that we do business is going to change too, and it's going to be a transition for us. That's why it would be great if this were pursued, it could be in steps as opposed to a hard wall.
Right?
Yeah, so to that point, not time-based, but are you able to give us, and not here, but later, could you give us sort of a generalized sequence of events that we need to do this step and then this, and
Sure.
With your insight in terms of what we need to consider.
Yeah. You bet.
Something like that, a roadmap would be really useful.
You bet. We'll come up with a roadmap on potentially what this could look like, and I'll give you a couple of different scenarios in terms of
Sure.
if we change nothing,
Right.
if we change a little bit, or if we change everything. And I can give you the different scenarios and timelines on what we anticipate that may look like and the challenges that come with
Yeah,
that.
I'm just thinking of decision points for us
Yeah.
that we can anticipate.
You bet.
That'd be great.
We can
Thank
work
you.
on that.
Is there any existing disaster plan for either Platteville and or the county right now?
You bet. Yeah, we have an emergency operations plan that's pretty robust. All these different things have been thought through. And the idea that Platteville can act as a backup for Grant, it can happen under the current model because there's a lot of integration that's already happened, but Platteville has some specific equipment and limitations, and Grant County has some specific equipment and limitations. But our employees know what they are, no different than the Grant County employees know what they are. But in the event of a disaster, we can still operate. You bet. And we have a plan for that.
And we have a plan for remote site operations,
You bet. Yep.
and they do as well.
They do as well. Yep. And that's something that we and the fire chief and I have been talking about as a goal coming up with the strategic plan. That was one of the things that we had talked about is not just doing a review every couple of years. It's going to be our goal is to have it be an ongoing review where we look at different aspects all the time. So it's not a static document. It becomes a living document where we're constantly looking at different things because in the past when we've done this, that is a big undertaking when you update your EOP, your emergency operations plan. It's much easier if you take smaller bites along the way as opposed to trying to chomp the whole thing.
Other questions? Kathy?
I don't have a question, but hopefully I've got this right. I would assume that because you're presenting to the council this report, like I said, we have a county committee meeting tomorrow, and this will be presented to the county board. Now, when we started this process, like for the grant, it was, I mean, Doug and the sheriff were, I mean, they had meetings leading up to that.
Mhm.
And then we were presented and we approved a resolution, right? To apply for the grant because.
Probably,
and then the
because if it was
county
a
did
grant,
too.
we probably had. to
Yeah,
have
one of the
resolution.
requirements of the grant was that there was a resolution that we would
Resolution, right.
support the findings of it, correct?
Right, right. And then, so I'm assuming that would be the next, we would have
Yep.
to do that again before the next.
Correct. The next decision point for the council going forward is when the grant opens up. If it's decided that it's something that wants to be approved, it would have to be a resolution that would be put forth in front of the council. We can then review some of this information then on what that would look like. So in terms of the next decision point for the council, it would be that if that was the route that was taken, correct? But as it stands right now, this is just information for you. And of course, it's a lot to digest. If anybody has any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer it.
And for those in the audience and for those who may be viewing at home, the consolidation feasibility study is online and is part of the council packet for tonight. So if you are interested in reading it, there is a way to access it from your home and from your computer. I don't know, do we have any paper copies of it anywhere?
We can make paper copies at the
I mean,
police department.
I don't know that it's necessary, I'm just asking. I mean, sometimes we put paper copies of things in the library or have a paper copy here.
Sure.
I'm not sure that that's.
I can put a paper copy in the library, so tomorrow morning it'll be available in the library too. I'll ask Jesse where it is, probably at the circulation desk, I'm guessing.
And I wouldn't make more than one, because I don't know that anybody will be looking at it, but.
It's a pretty
it would
robust
be-
document too.
It would be nice if it were available in case somebody did want to look at it.
Not a problem.
Okay. Will you be making presentations to any other groups?
So far, it was just scheduled for this group. We have made individual presentations. We've been sharing these out and having meetings with our dispatchers too, because Ryan and Andrea and I feel it's super important that they be informed on this process too.
Understand it.
So every time that a study would come out, and there were about 7 different reports, we would share it out with them right away. And when the final came out, we presented them with exactly what I presented tonight. If any other groups wanted to talk about it, we'd be more than happy to come in, and you bet.
If there are then no more council questions, thank you, Chief, for the information, and we'll hear from you again as we move forward. And Kathy, we'll hope to hear from you as to the reception at the county's committee and the county board.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move on into our other agenda items for tonight. The first is consideration of the consent agenda. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote due to their routine nature. If you want separate discussion or action, please let me know. We have the council minutes from April 28th, the special meeting, and the regular meeting. We have payment of bills. We have the financial report for April, appointments to boards and commissions. And tonight I have several. First of all council members' appointments I can read. Parrott is being appointed to the Public Housing Authority, ET Zoning Board of Appeals, License Committee, and the Public Transportation Committee. Mr. Badger to the Community Safe Routes Committee, to the Historic Preservation Committee, to the License Committee, and to the Water and Sewer Commission. Mr. McFall to the ET Zoning Board of Appeals, to the Museum Board, to the Parks, Forestry, and Recreation Committee. Ms. Kopp to the Commission on Aging, Grant County Economic Development, Police and Fire Commission, and the Tourism Commission. Mr. Wisnat to the Airport Commission, Grant County Economic Development, the Redevelopment Authority, and the Water and Sewer Commission. Mr. Gates to the Board of Appeals Zoning, the ET Zoning Board of Appeals, the Library Board, and the Plan Commission. And I will then take what's left over. So the leftovers for me are the License Committee, the Platteville Area Industrial Development Corporation, and the Water and Sewer Commission. So in addition to those council appointments, I have appointments to the Housing Authority Board for a 5-year term beginning 5/1/20, May 1 of this year. That would be Deb Faraday. I have appointments to the Plan Commission, Eileen Nichols, Ciara Miller, and Danny Shaw for terms ending 5/1/29. To the Police and Fire Commission, I have Vicki Peterson. To the Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Committee, I have Debbie Sigworth and Keisha King. Those terms begin June 1. And to the Commission on Aging, I have Kathy Rice, her term beginning 7/1/26. So quite a few tonight, and likely more next meeting. In addition to the appointments, then, we have licenses, 1- and 2-year operator licenses to serve and sell alcohol, as were in your packet. We have street closing permit for 2nd Street from Main to Furnace and Mineral to Oak to 3rd for the annual Southwest Music Festival on Saturday, July 18th from 8 to midnight, and a banner permit from June 19th to July 4 for Heritage Day, which is scheduled for Saturday, July 4th. That is a museum event. So those are the consent agenda for the evening. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kathy and a second by Bob to approve the consent agenda as presented. Craig will vote.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnat,
Yes.
Parrott,
Yes.
Badger, Kopp.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I have had one person register to speak during citizens' comments, observations, and petitions for this happens when something isn't actually on the agenda, so I will call on Lana Kaywood, who wants to speak on the November general election for information purposes only.
Yes, as Barb said, I'm Lana Kaywood. I'm just going to say, I'm here as a private citizen.
And you live at, you have to say your,
Oh, I'm sorry, 185 South Court, Platteville, Wisconsin. I'm here as a private citizen, not representing any group. My question is this, because I think we can all agree we live in some pretty divided times. And we're hearing some certain rumblings about the November election. I have worked the polls over at the university, and I have been proud to do so. It's quite an honor, and it's an interesting experience. I feel like our elections are safe and secure. My question is this: if federal agents are in Platteville the day of the election, and I guess Chief, maybe I should direct this towards you, and I'm calling you Chief because I don't want to butcher your last name, okay? Um, who's going to be supported here? Platteville residents or federal agents? If federal agents are interfering with people voting, what are we going to do? And I'm bringing this to your attention now is because October will be too late. It's time to start thinking about this now and to establish some kind of procedure or protocol. Those things take time. So that's why I'm here in May.
Thank you, Lena. And as you know, as an election of having worked elections, our city clerk has responsibility. And so I'm sure that that Craig will interact with the appropriate people. And I suspect that there are all kinds of plans for all kinds of things that we never think could happen, would happen.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
I suspect they have all kinds of plans for all kinds of things. So I thank you for bringing it to the attention and of us, and I encourage you to talk to Craig and to Josh on the side and make known what your other feelings are, okay? Okay, that's the only person I had register for anything in general. I would mention that between now and the next meeting, our next meeting is on Tuesday, the 26th of May. So we will have celebrated Memorial Day before then. And it is customary in Platteville to have a Memorial Day service activity, which would be on Monday, the 25th. That activity is here in our auditorium and is conducted by the VFW and the American Legion. The DAR participates. People put a lot of work into this. So I would encourage people to come. I believe the program starts at 10 o'clock inside. And then after the inside program concludes, those gathered moved to the city park, to the rocks, the Central Memorial, for a special service there that involves wreaths and honoring our people who were in the service. So again, that would be Monday, May 25th, 10 o'clock here, and then following presentations here right to the city park. So encourage you to come and encourage you to encourage others to come. Now, does anybody else have any other activities that are in their department that they want to share? Okay, then we'll move on to reports that were in your packet. The board, commission, and committee reports that were in your packet. The library board, Lynn, anything?
Nothing to add.
Public Transportation Committee.
Nothing to add.
Okay, Plan Commission, we have nothing to add.
I don't have anything to add.
Other reports in the committee, in the packet were the water and sewer financial report for April, the airport financial report for April, and department progress reports. Does anybody have any questions or things they want to raise from any of those? Okay, then we'll move on to the action items on our agenda. The first item on the agenda is a loan extension with Fidelity Bank and Trust and LMN Investments. Joe.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so back in 2015, the RDA and the city provided loans to Element Investments for work they were doing on the property at 25 East Main Street, some building improvements. So it was originally set up that these were two loans. It was a 20-year amortization with a 7-year balloon payment, with the idea that 7 years would give them enough time to have equity. They could refinance, and then we could get out of the banking business. Right away, that property got underwater financially, and I gave the details a little bit last time. So that has not worked out according to plan. So we've already done a couple of extensions, 2-year extensions, and they're still not in a position where the bank is willing to take on the additional debt and take that away from the city. So we have a position now where we have this loan with Fidelity Bank. We borrowed the money from them and then turned around and relent it to LMN. So that loan is due, so we need to do an extension to that loan because we're not in a position to pay that debt off. LMN is also not in a position to pay that debt off. So basically what we're looking for is another 2-year extension to both of those agreements. The good thing for us is the extension with Fidelity Bank will be at a lower interest rate and our monthly payment will be lower as well. But the idea that LMN loan, we will turn around and actually add some interest to what we're getting from Fidelity, so that hopefully that gives them a little bit more encouragement to seek other financing in the future. So as I mentioned, long term, we'd like to get out of the banking business. So what we're requesting is approval of a loan extension with Fidelity Bank and Trust for additional 2 years. It'd be a rate of 5.95%, monthly payment of $1,037.90. That might fluctuate a little bit because this was set up as we started the paperwork. Obviously, there's additional payments and interests that have been calculated, but that's approximately what we're looking at. And then we would turn around and do a 2-year extension with LMN for a slightly higher rate at 6.95%. So
Okay.
that's our recommendation. Any questions?
Questions?
Said we're getting a slightly better rate than we were for the last 5 years.
Right, they're proposing 5.95%, which is down from 7.75%.
Are we incurring any cost to take out this note at all, or? Okay. Basing on any of those discounts to LMN,
No, like I said, we're recommending a 1% increase.
oh, we did
above.
that 1% increase before?
No,
No,
Okay,
this is the first time that would
Right.
be.
got it.
so we're trying to encourage that.
Is this the only situation we have? This?
We have one other loan. The Driftless is for sale. They're behind on their payments, but we're hoping that when that sells, they'll be able to pay off their loan at that time.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I just
Oh,
just
yep,
a
go ahead.
question, a little verification. You told us at our last meeting that they are current, I mean, they have been,
They're making
LMN has
payments.
been making,
They're making payments. They got behind years ago during COVID. The RDA kind of let everybody put a pause on things. And then I think they fell behind 1 month the last time we did this extension. But other than that, they have been making monthly payments.
I mentioned at our last meeting too, that possibly 6 months or so before this 2-year extension, that maybe we even consider raising that rate more. I mean, this is how many years? If we approve this, which, see how we not, it means 6 years beyond. And I think there's, like the fact that this would be renewed with an additional 1%, but maybe to look at what the market is prior to the end of the 2 extension, to keep it up there. So
Create more
that,
incentive.
yeah.
Okay, so do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve a 2-year loan extension with Fidelity Bank and Trust in the amount of $96,124.82 at a rate of 5.95% and an approximate monthly payment of $1,037.90, and a corresponding loan extension with Element Investments for an additional 2 years at a rate of 6.95%.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Bob and a second by Lynn to approve this 2-year loan extension. Craig will vote.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnat,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the second item on our action agenda tonight is the Industry Park land sale, lot 47. Joe, you're going to start?
I will start, yes. So as I mentioned last time, we have is it public now? As far as the purchaser, we're okay with that? LV Labs is interested in purchasing part of Lot 47. So it's currently a 2.69 acre parcel. The lot would be divided, so they'd be buying a 1.35 acre portion of that lot. So they would build a new facility there. They're looking at a 7,200 square foot building, 8 full-time employees, minimum cost of $650,000. I think they're finding out it's going to be higher than that, unfortunately. They provide, if you're not familiar with them, water testing services, municipalities, including the city of Platteville, and private companies, including some businesses in the industry park. So they're interested in buying the lot. They have been negotiating with PADIC on the purchase price of $45,000. And in addition, part of the arrangement is they would construct the stormwater pond for the entire lot 47. So it'd be sized to accommodate the portion they're buying plus the remaining portion. And then the intent was that the part of the incentive would also be that the city, through a pay-go arrangement through the TIF, would pay for half of that stormwater pond. The estimated cost was $62,000. They would get theoretically $31,000. So that was kind of the negotiated terms of that sale. Unfortunately, since the last meeting, Dan and Abby were looking at things in a little more detail and realized that this lot is not in TID 9 as we had thought it was in TID 9. It is still remaining in TID 6. So TID 6 is one of the older districts that the city has, and it's beyond its expenditure period. So we're no longer able to provide any incentives to developers through TID 6. So the pay-go through TID 9 is what was part of the plan, is no longer an option on the table. So we have two options that we can consider. It is adjacent to TID 9, so we could do an amendment to TID 9 to put this property in TID 9, then we're back in business with that original plan. We'd have to go through the process of doing that, obviously, but that would be something that we would have to do. The other option that we could consider is, instead of providing the pay-go for the pond, we just reduce the lot price accordingly, so they would get the same amount of incentive. It just wouldn't be a pay-go for the pond. It would just be a reduction in the purchase price. So instead of purchase price of $45,000, it'd be a purchase price of $14,000. And then there would be no pay-go for the stormwater pond.
Okay, so would it be a set amount, or would it be a half of what the cost of the pond is not to exceed?
It would not be, we would eliminate the not to exceed. We're going off of the estimates that they received, which was $62,000. So we're assuming their portion would be $31,000. So we'd be subtracting that from the purchase price. So that would be, the new purchase price would then be $14,000 if you
Yes.
go with that option.
So another question, you said we could amend the TID and put it in TID 9.
Correct.
How long does it take to do a TID amendment, and how many amendments can you do to a TID? That's two questions.
That's two questions. I don't know exactly how long a simple amendment like that would be. 2 months? Yeah, you get a total of 4 boundary amendments to a TID. We haven't
Oh, so
done
you,
any yet.
so I'm like, I don't think we want to spend
We don't want to
one.
waste the.
Yeah, you don't want to
amendment for a-
spend something that
a
you need
small
for
incentive.
later, so
Right.
that's why I'm asking how many you can do.
Right.
And then how long, I'm assuming that
Quickest would be 2
I'm
months.
assuming that the purchaser, the business, is more interested in getting going than in waiting 4 months for us to get a TID amendment.
So if I may.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Abby.
We would still allow the purchase to take place ahead of the TIF amendment with the insurance that we would be amending the TIF to ensure that they would be getting the pay-go incentive with that. I did want to bring to the attention the expiration dates of TIF 6 versus TIF 9, and Nicola, please chime in if I get these wrong. But TIF 6 ends in 2032. meaning that, now this is just general numbers, say we're getting $11,000 in property taxes, okay, so we would be capturing that increment through 2032 at the full $11,000. TIF 9 ends in 2049, and I have final numbers on this. That was the math I was doing. But after 2032, then we would only be capturing the city's portion, which is roughly 26% of the increment, which then takes it down to $2,860 from, if we're just calculating till the end of TID 9, then that's from 2033 to 2049. So at the end of 2049, if we leave this in TIF 6, end numbers,
And if you leave it in TID 6.
if we leave it in TID 6 this whole time, okay, and we're capturing that increment, and then we move to the 26% that you would then be getting because it's still going to pay property taxes in the city, our total would be $114,620. If you amend the TIF and move it to TID number 9, and you're capturing that full 11,000 until 2049, your total is 253,000. So it is a significant difference there. I just wanted to make sure that we are aware of that as well. And if we do an amendment, I would also, last time when we created TID 9, we were up against the 12%. We were keeping some undeveloped properties in TIF 6 because of this. We could pull a couple other properties into TID 9 and not waste it. For instance, we do have some interest in formerly lot number 1, as well as the corner lot's already in there, I believe. Yeah, the corner lot's in there that I talked about, the 5 acre. But we could look at other ones as well as what's going to also go into the Trailview TIF as well, because that will also be getting some commercial.
Abby, it sounds like your recommendation is to amend the TIF.
My recommendation personally, showing that you would capture more increment that way, would be to, if the goal is for Platteville to collect more increment, then it makes the most sense fiscally to amend TIF 9.
And the reason you would collect more increment, you might explain, is because,
The TIF lasts longer, so
no, you collect more increment, but then you can do what with the increment?
you can utilize the increment for your own projects within the city of Platteville, increase development. You're going to use it to fund positions like my own, your chamber, or Main Street. Extend city water,
roads or
sewer,
water
curb,
and sewer.
gutter,
So infrastructure. it could be used
infrastructure,
for. Right.
all of those things.
So
And
Andy, you said that's your personal thought. Is there an
We
official?
have not had a chance to have a PADIC meeting on this, due to the fact that we just discovered it when I was Friday, maybe? When I was looking at TIF maps and I realized that, they're shaded in TIF 6, TIF 9, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was in TIF 6. I've been under the assumption it was in TIF 9. So that is an oversight on my part.
For a timetable for the purchase, would it allow time for PADIC to, or is it something that needs to be acted on? I mean, we're on for action now, so it's.
And the city of Platteville, at the end of the day, is PADIC provides recommendations, but the city is the action taker. At this point, I would not like to delay the sale of the property. We would like to get this closed on. Their construction team is ready to go right now. How we ensure that they get their half of the retention, that we pay for our portion of the retention pond, if we guarantee it in one way or another, I think that would satisfy the developer. And even if we end up doing the PAYGO and amending it and ensuring, we still have that time frame because they won't pay property taxes until the project is complete.
So 2 other questions. And maybe these are for Nicola. Nicola, TID 6 is in good shape? It's not going to close underwater.
No, not the way things are looking right now. In fact, the date of dissolution is scheduled for 2032, but it will likely close before that.
Okay, so it doesn't actually need the increment.
Not the way the projections are looking today.
Okay. And when we formed TID 9, TID 9 needs increment in order to do things. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And either way we go has no effect on the developer or the purchaser.
As far as ensuring that the city of Platteville can, write a note that says we will ensure that we pay for our half of it with a signed documentation. The biggest thing is if we were to leave it in TIF 6, if that is the decision tonight, that would come off the purchase price of what the check they make out for the closing.
My suggestion would be to, what you have in the sample affirmative motion, if you give Abby and Joe enough latitude, say, change it for up to $45,000, so we can do 45. I got a couple ideas, because Abby and Joe literally just hit me with this late last week, so I've been thinking about different things, but we haven't had a chance to talk. There might be some other things we can do. Nicola and I have talked about other creative things with TIF. I've done some unusual
And that's
but legal
fine.
things.
I'm interested in TID 9 not being underwater. I'm interested in if TID 6 is really going to close and is in a good position, we need to manage those positions too. So, and if in the end, the person who wants to build on the lot can go ahead and get it done, then the rest of it to me is semantics.
Timing wise is really the important part. And that's, if we offer anything, if we offer timely support,
Right.
that's what we need. And if the person nets the same amount, that's the same thing. It's just
Right.
how we do
How we
it.
do it.
I have another idea, but I don't want to get into the guts of the details of it. But if you do up to 45,000, then you have the ability, if they need to lower the price to 10 to close it, and then we maybe put 35,000 in escrow and then figure out how to do all that. There's a few ways that you can pull this off. And I think we just need to spend a little time in figuring out what that magic answer might be.
Okay, so Mark is suggesting that the affirmative motion, the motion offered, say up to, right now it says selling this portion for $45,000, subject to. And Mark is saying simply replace the word for with
Or
or
up to.
up to,
Yeah.
add the words up to after for. And then, and Mark and Abby, you'll report to us at the next meeting as to what actually you do, because I assume if we're going to amend a TIF, if that is what happens, we're going to have to pass that as some kind of,
Yeah, and that
motion
does,
or
and that
resolution
does
or
take
something.
time. But you also have the advantage of, this is also subject to a development agreement.
right,
And a development agreement can correct all of these
yep,
imperfections that we're trying to deal with right here and now.
yep. Okay,
What about timing? The property will close, the sale will close before we have answers as to the direction we're gonna move, probably.
That's why if we use the up to 45,000, we could take that 35,000, put it in escrow, and it may go back to them if we find another way to take care of it through the TIF amendment or some other way to make them whole. And so we want to make them whole the way we represented it. Does that make sense, Joe, to you too? Couple of things I think we might be able to do. But that way, that person knows they're going to be cutting a check for 45,000 for the land. They may get some of that back if they end up paying it another way. There's plenty of ways to kick this around, and I'm just starting to get creative. And when Abby and I talk, we'll have a few ideas.
Apologies too. I'm glad we found it before this, but it was very last minute when we were going over some maps on actually a different parcel.
So I would make a motion that to approve the sale of the 1.34 acre portion of Lot 47 of Platteville Industry Park Number 7 for up to $45,000, subject to a development agreement, a construction deadline, and repurchase agreement, and a TIF assistance agreement, and approval of an option to purchase for the remaining portion of Lot 47.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and a second by Brian to approve this motion relative to the sale of a portion of Lot 47 in the Industry Park. Craig will vote.
McFall? Doss?
Yes.
Gates?
Yes.
Wisnap?
Yes.
Parrot?
Yes.
Badger?
Yes.
Cop? Motion carries.
And it's my understanding that the purchaser is in the audience tonight, and we welcome you to the city of Platteville. And as you can hear, we're willing to try to figure it out as we go sometimes. So.
Sure.
All right, we're now moving into the information and discussion portion of our agenda. The first is ordinance amending Chapter 38 of the Municipal Code, removes Second Street from East Pine Street to East Furnace Street from the unauthorized ATV, UTV route list. And is this Howard or is this Josh?
It's me.
That's what I thought.
All right, thank you.
All right, Chief.
So since implementation of the city's ATV UTV ordinance, we've been continuing to evaluate the effectiveness of the designated routes and identify areas where modifications may improve some traffic flow, route continuity, and overall usability while maintaining public safety standards. The proposed amendment is part of that ongoing evaluation process and reflects consideration of route connectivity, roadway characteristics, enforcement feasibility, and community access. The roadway segment proposed for inclusion functions similarly to other currently approved ATV, UTV routes within the city and is not anticipated to significantly impact normal vehicular traffic operations. The amendment would not modify or reduce any of the operational safety or enforcement provisions already established under Section 38.17 of the ordinance. ATV and UTV operators would still be required to comply with all posted speed limits, including licensing requirements, insurance requirements, equipment standards, lighting, and all applicable statutes and city ordinances that govern UTV and ATV operations. In addition, all UTV and ATV operators would continue to be subject to the same penalties and enforcement for actions that are unsafe or unlawful as authorized under city ordinance or Wisconsin law. The police department will continue to monitor all ATV, UTV activity throughout the community and address complaints, traffic concerns, or safety issues as necessary. This proposed amendment is not expected to create a substantial additional enforcement burden for our department, as the roadway segment is already heavily routinely patrolled and incorporated within existing traffic enforcement operations. There's minimal fiscal impact as it is anticipated, or as anticipated as a result of the proposed amendment. Potential costs would be primarily limited to minor signage updates, route mapping revisions, or public notification efforts as determined to be necessary. No significant infrastructure modifications are anticipated. I believe the proposed amendment provides a reasonable balance between improving route access and maintaining appropriate public safety oversight. And again, this is for information and only, but the recommendation going forward would be that you consider the approval of the amended ordinance, which would remove or amend Platteville Municipal Code 38.17, Parent 5, Parent A 3.
Okay, questions? You have a map in your packet, and right in the middle of that map, you can see that little section that runs from Pine Street up to Furnace Street, right up Second Street, that is highlighted or is red, and that's the 1-3 block area that we're talking about.
Correct.
Questions? Okay. Then that will be moved to our action agenda for our next meeting. Next, we have the 2027 bus route changes and additional route. And Howard, I believe this is,
Yes.
it's Ryan's.
Well, Ryan's going to be assisting here. He's going to put
the maps up on the screen for everybody so
Okay.
that we can look at those.
Okay.
Just to remind people what was going on, back in August of 2024, the city received a letter from Stratton Buses that they would not renew their contract for the 2025 year because the contract value was insufficient to provide the services requested. At that time, city and university were partnering to provide 4 bus routes. We scrambled, we estimated the hourly cost of service, we cut routes from 4 down to 1, sent out an RFP, and began service in January 2025. The low bidder, Davis Bus Line, had a bid price over 40% higher in 2025 than the price of service in 2024. Recently, staff with university and others looked into the possibility to increase hours or routes for 2027. After discussion with Wisconsin DOT, these changes would be significant and require a new RFP. The group reviewed routes, solicited input from students, and checked it against UW-Platteville revenue streams. The group recommends that a Saturday route be added for 4 hours Saturday during the academic year. It's based on the old purple route from 2024. And the group also asked to revise certain bus stops to help focus on the downtown. What I'd like to do is if Ryan could put up the current orange route, just to kind of remind us where we are. In your packet, it's the one with the solid lines, solid orange lines. But it's primarily focused in the downtown and southwest area of the city by campus and all like that. So that's what we've been running on all of calendar year 2025 and will run for the rest of calendar year 2026. So what we did was we went from that and we now go to the proposed orange route. It's a map that you had in your packet with dashes along the route. Some of the changes that were being proposed eliminate the Carlisle and Chestnut Street stop, eliminate the stop at Southwest and Marquee. We add a route at Porter Hall. So right now the bus goes to the Circle Drive and then it comes out, stays on Greenwood Avenue to College Drive and then comes around. What we were proposing is that after they do the Circle Drive portion of the route, Circle Drive stop, that they go through that one parking lot that cuts between Greenwood and College Drive and have a stop by Porter Hall in that parking lot area to kind of help support students who may be in those residence halls. And then come around, no change to a lot of the other ones until we get to the Clare Bank stop. We're thinking that we would eliminate the Clare Bank stop. We would swing up and stop basically at Elm and Main by the library. And then we would go down Main Street, and then there's a loading zone on the east side of 3rd Street, just north of Main Street, and we would use that as a bus stop in the downtown area. And then they would loop up on Mineral Street next to the police department, come back down 4th to Pine, and then go down Pine back to Piggly Wiggly to start the route. And so that's those are the recommended changes for the orange route.
Just, so there's no stop between Piggly Wiggly and Roundtree Commons?
Right.
Okay.
When we've looked at the ridership data, there were 0 riders that got on at that Carlisle and Chestnut stop during all of 2025. I mean, they're going to go past it because that's really the only way to get there, but we're just figuring let's eliminate the pause or the stop because nobody's getting on there at this point. Same thing for Southwestern Marquee. After you come out of the Marquee Student Center and you make that turn, rather than pausing again at the top of Marquee Avenue, nobody's getting on there because you're going from there out to Fox Ridge. There really isn't a good need for people to get on that at that location either. And that help us with the timing for the Porter Hall and some of these other things, some of these other roads. Any other questions at this point?
I'd just like to clarify the route. I know that every year you're talking about the routes. Can you explain simply the responsibility between the city and the university as far as a bus route? Because public can ride this bus,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that's why the city's involved, because to me, it looks like it's for the advantage of moving students around campus.
Yes. I mean, it is primarily focused on use by campus. However, any citizen may use the bus. If you happen to live in Fox Ridge, for example, and you wanted to use it to get to the downtown, and you did not work or are not a student at the university, you can use the bus to do that. It's $2 a ride for members of the public. I haven't quite gotten to all of that stuff yet, but the university is the one that provides the local match for the grants that we receive that are allocated towards the bus portion of the system. So it's the segregated student fees that they collect that pay that match.
Okay. You're going to go on and show us the
Sure.
new route?
Yeah. Please put up the purple route. Okay. The idea here would be to run from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays during the academic year. The idea here would be to allow students and anyone else the opportunity to get basically from the downtown area out to the shopping areas on the east side of town, and then back during that 4-hour window. We're looking at stop number 1 being at Piggly Wiggly. We call it Roundtree Commons East because that one is on the Chestnut Street side versus the Marquee Avenue side. Culver's, Walmart, Aldi's, Mineral and Commerce, there's that apartment complex right there on the north side of Mineral Street. The Mining Museum, I call it that, but the stop is actually closer to Eastman Cartwright, but it's pretty much right there. Main and Oak Street, first stop in the downtown, and then back to Alsvik. And then, like the orange route, we would loop back around at the library and 3rd and Main before going back to Piggly Wiggly and start the route all over again.
And where are your shopping stops on the, we didn't actually see that kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I went, the idea would be to, once you get done with Roundtree Commons East, you come up Southwest Road to Business 151. You take Business 151, a quick stop near Culver's, and then you would continue out Business 151, go into the Walmart parking lot near the doors there, drop off people there, come out of there, go to Aldi's, into the Aldi's parking lot, drop off and pick up people there. So those are the two locations that we felt were the primary locations out on that side, on the west side of town, or on the east side of town, for the 4-hour window, late morning, early afternoon. And then,
So Howard, is there any, there's a new store going in on, next to Farm and Fleet. So was there any consideration given to going into Farm and Fleet? And there used to be a drop there.
yes.
And now with the thrift shop moving to what was formerly ACC, it would seem, I think a lot of students take advantage of that thrift store. And so my question would be, have you considered a stop on that side of the street?
We did not initially. The problem is the time distance factor, because we want to keep the route to a 30-minute route. I just get real concerned about, the extra time getting into the lot, dropping people off, picking them up, getting them back out of the lot. We can look at that as an alternative or as a possibility. Like I say, yeah.
I mean, Farm and Fleet has that turn kind of close. I mean, even if it were at the edge, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have to be up by the building, I don't think. But it seems like it would make sense to include that, since that's a new.
We can consider that and look into that between now and next time. Okay.
Howard, I should know this, and I don't think it's in here, but does the orange route continue to run on weekends?
No, it does not. Right now, it's Monday through Friday only, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And this purple route would be just Saturday?
Saturday only,
Saturday only.
yes, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And and the primary, and paying for the purple route, what's the plan?
The idea here is that we've worked with the staff members at the university, and they feel comfortable that they have the segregated fees to
pay for this
to pay
route too.
for this additional route.
Okay,
It's not guaranteed, because when we go out for an RFP, for some reason, fuel prices are a little bit higher than they have been. So I'm concerned that when we go out for an RFP, the cost of service will go up, and I have no idea by how much. But
so does the orange route run all day? Or does it
7
run?
a.m. to 5 p.m. They do have a couple of scheduled half-hour breaks in the.
Okay. I just didn't know if they ran continuous.
There's one break in the morning and one in the afternoon. I'd have to look up
exactly which half hour that is, but, yeah, they do that, and that's what we've been doing for the last year and a half. Like I say, the university pays the local match for that,
For the bus.
and their staff has assured me that subject to subject to a reasonable increase, they can still handle the additional costs.
So my question is, this would be an RFP for the bus only, right?
Correct.
Because did we at one time have a combination contract that was bus and taxi?
Technically, they are two separate contracts. Originally, we were doing RFPs together for them, and then they got off cycle.
It's okay.
We have one potential extension year coming up for 2027, and then we would have to RFP for the taxi. But with fuel prices, the taxi could do like the bus did a couple of years ago and say that they cannot continue service, and we would have to go out for a new RFP. I hope that doesn't happen, but it
But
is
you're
a
ready if
possibility.
it does, right?
Yeah, more or less.
Okay, anybody
It's a
else?
3 to
with-
4 month process. to
Anybody
make
else
this
with
happen.
questions primarily on the RFP now for buses? This would start January 1, 2027?
Correct.
City, I'm sorry, the school gave their input as to the stops that you can.
UWP.
Yes. We had, Tony was on that committee, but we had a student, I think he was from the Student Senate. I can't remember. He was with one of the organizations on there, and they did surveys of students asking, what made sense for them, and we had university staff members working with us as well to help guide us as to what they thought the university could and couldn't support.
Okay, so will this come back for action at our next meeting?
I hope so,
Okay.
yes.
I'm just asking.
Yes, we really need to get a decision here in the next 1 or 2 council meetings so that we have enough time
To get
to
the
go
RFP.
through the RFP
Okay.
process.
So if you have any questions, bring them along. Otherwise, I think the presentation was pretty complete. Okay?
Thank you,
Thanks.
Ryan.
Okay, next on our information and discussion agenda is the continuing review of the comprehensive plan. And I guess, Joe, we go to you for that.
Yeah, we reviewed this, presented it last meeting. The plan has been reviewed by the Plan Commission. They recommended passing it on for adoption to the council. I don't have any additional information tonight to hand out to you. Obviously, I've been forwarding on emails and other correspondence as I get it. So you're aware of some concerns in there and opinions about some of the recommendations in the plan. So if you have any questions regarding any of that or the plan itself, I guess I just viewed this as a time where you could ask questions or get additional information or request me to get more information to you for next time. Otherwise, any comments?
Okay, I'm going to go down the council line here. Tony, do you have any questions that you wanted to propose or pose? Okay, Lynn? Brian? Bob? Steve? Kathy?
clarification I want is the discussion point. Medium use versus low use by Westview. I apologize, I forgot my book.
You forgot your book.
Yeah.
And I do have one
It,
person.
it's.
There is a chart in here.
Yes.
Okay,
There is
that-
a chart in here that's incorrect. That is, it's my understanding
I wanted to
that the
make sure
chart is
that-
to be removed.
Yes.
And I think it's on page 40. In fact, I know it's on page 40 because so the chart on page 40, 2025 zoning, is incorrect. And that chart is to be removed entirely from this document. That would be the top chart, not the land area by land use category chart at the bottom. So this chart will be omitted. There is a chart at the bottom of page 42 then that talks about future land use designation and potential zoning districts. And that kind of replaces, I guess you would say, the proposed 2026 housing density categories that are incorrectly listed on the previous page. So these two charts were not the same, but they said the same, they were to be the same. So this one is just to be eliminated. Okay, I have had one person who wants to speak on the comprehensive plan, and that's Jim Schneller.
My name is Jim Schneller. I live at 620 Ridge Avenue, and unfortunately, I've been out of town for a significant amount of time, but I am aware of certain things going on with the comprehensive plan. If you remember correctly, last fall, we attempted to bring in a parcel of land just west of Westview and designated R2, and that annexation was turned down. Since that time, and with the charts and everything, Barb, I'm not sure of what has been retained or removed, but it's my understanding that that parcel in the comp plan was labeled as medium density. And I know there's been, from the same folks that opposed the original annexation because of the zoning request, are opposing or suggesting or requesting that that parcel be zoned, or not zoned, I'm sorry, be labeled in the comprehensive plan as low density. I'm sure you've all had a chance to read my 6-page document, since you probably got it about 4:30 today. But instead of doing that, reading it page by page, let me just summarize a few points, because my contention is that a significant amount of the arguments, number of the arguments, are either an error or certainly can be interpreted differently. So I'm just going to do real quickly on those. First of all, it's been stated that the council included the area in the overlay district last summer. The parcel was never annexed, therefore it's not zoned by the city. It is not. The conflation between the designation and zoning is occurring, and they're two different things. So the council chose not to exone the land or annex the land, therefore it wasn't in the city, and it's not subject to any zoning solely by the city common council. If anything happens out there, it has to go through the extraterritorial board and so forth. So that's number one. I say that argument fails. Traffic concerns. There was suggested by many that who oppose the medium density designation could result in more than twice, I'm saying it can result in more than twice the traffic that they stated could occur when I tried to annex the land. And let me give you the quick numbers on that. When we tried to annex the land, we proposed 6 lots, and the argument was you could have duplexes on there. That's 12 duplexes, four unrelated parties per, therefore 48 different parties in that area, hence 48 different cars. The suggestion is with Act 35, the new residential TID zoning TID availability for the state would help pay for the infrastructure, therefore we could put in R1 in there. Act 35 says the lot has to be less than 7,500 square feet, by the way, which is less than half of any of the surrounding lots currently there. And even if it was an RLO overlay, two unrelated parties. I asked Delta 3 to put together how many lots I could get in there. I could get 60 of those little dinky lots in there, and you could have two unrelated parties. And in theory, if you go to the worst case, as was done before, we could have 120 differing parties, therefore 120 differing cars there. So I say that that argument fails as well. It was stated that it's widely recognized solutions that exist out there. And I know Joe took a look and looked for widely recognized. I did, because I asked Joe about it, because I wasn't aware. And I asked at least one other person too. And then I went and asked ChatGPT about it. And I was unable to locate any quote unquote widely recognized solutions to the concerns raised by the opposition. Likewise, ChatGPT in the response said there are no quote authoritative planning standard, Wisconsin statute, or recognized national planning doctrine stating that areas adjacent to elementary schools are sensitive zones requiring avoidance of higher density residential development. In fact, the response was just the opposite, saying reasons why higher density near the schools provided less traffic because those students could walk, so forth. And the entire question and response is included in there. In my mind, that argument fails as well. There's been some assertion that it'll change the or the character of the area. In essence, I think the message has been, don't ruin our neighborhood. Now, I get it, you know. I understand that changes aren't wanted. But it might be the opinion of those opposing that from that area. But I suggest that the opinion will not carry across many other family-friendly areas of the city, saying that it's going to ruin that here because it's R1. You know, I would find it hard anybody to argue that R2 and R3 areas in the city cannot be family-friendly. So I think that could easily lead an objective observer to conclude that maybe the main argument against the medium density is the NIMBY, colloquially known as NIMBY, you know, the not in my backyard. In essence, we're okay with that designation or similar zoning if already in the city, someplace else. So I guess in short, other than the not here desire, I suggest that the other arguments presented do not really appear to pass the smell test. And I think personally, I think they're errant. And then finally, let's look at the financial impact of potential to the city. Obviously, designating anything a certain zoning or in the comp plan doesn't necessarily make things happen, but it also can assist in development in the city or just the opposite. I mean, take a look. Last year, we had one residential permit pulled in Platteville. Cuba City, less than a fifth of the size of Platteville, had 5 townhomes and 11 single families. Belmont, 1/12 the size of Platteville, had 5 permits pulled. This year, Cuba City's already kicking our butt again by nearly 3-1, having permits pulled for 2 townhouses and 6 family homes. So Cuba City is embracing and attempting. I would like to see us do that and not try not to do it. So, and also I want to point out that the city is the final arbiter should it be attempted to annex the parcel again. So anyway, those are things that I think need to be brought up in response to some other arguments that are made, and this is my interpretation of those. So, any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so Joe, I've heard nobody suggest any changes other than the correction on the removal of the chart. There might be some other grammatical issues that need to be addressed. I have seen a couple of grammatical things, but they aren't substantive, they're grammatical. And so I'm not going to go through those. I mean, we had someone who used to do that. However, I'm not going to do that. Okay? I will. The date. Oh, yes, and we thank you for putting the date on the document. This has been
As they're
a
changed.
frustration. So, that there were no dates on documents. So, as it used to be that there were no page numbers, now we also are not only interested in page numbers, but we're also interested in dating documents. So, if there is nobody that has any additional questions at this point in time, then we'll move this on to the agenda next time for approval. And like I said, I will get any grammatical things that I found noted. Okay? All right. Well, I believe that ends, I believe that we're done then. I think that ends the public portion of our meeting. And so I would take a motion to go into closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 1985, Parent 1, Parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And we will, in fact, be reviewing the Trailview development proposals. So I would say, Mark, we don't expect to come back into open session and take action.
There'll be no action.
This is a discussion session, so I would take a motion to that effect.
Motion we adjourn to closed session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, Craig, and a second. We'll vote.
McFall,
Yes.
Doss,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Wisnat,
Yes.
Parrot,
Yes.
Badger,
Yes.
Cop.
Yes.
Motion carries.